I never thought magic could be real, until the day I woke up looking into someone else's eyes. It started innocently enough. My crush, Lyra, had always been a bit eccentric, a mix of charm, mischief, and this inexplicable aura that made everyone lean closer when she spoke. One evening, she waved a strange amulet at me and whispered, "Let's see what it's like to be twins for a week." I laughed nervously, assuming it was a joke, a harmless prank. I woke the next morning and froze. The mirror didn't reflect me. My hair was long, glossy, falling past my shoulders just like hers. My jawline softened, my cheekbones lifted in ways I hadn't imagined. My body had shifted, curves where there had been none, a slenderness I had only seen in dreams. I was wearing a soft pastel blouse and a skirt that fluttered lightly with my every movement. I touched my face, my chest, my arms. Every movement was alien. Every breath carried a thrill and a panic I couldn't name. "This can't be real," I whispered. My voice, higher and gentler than usual, sounded like hers. I stumbled back from the mirror, almost tripping over my own feet. Then I noticed something even stranger. My reflection didn't just look like me, it looked like Lyra. I ran to my phone, hoping for some explanation. But every picture I took showed the same thing: Lyra's features. Lyra's expressions. Her body. And somewhere deep inside, a part of me that had always admired her closely stirred with both fear and exhilaration. I tried to speak her name, but the words came out soft, melodic, unfamiliar. My hands shook. My heart raced. I felt trapped. And yet, a strange, dangerous curiosity flickered. Because somewhere between panic and awe, I realized one terrifying, thrilling truth: I wasn't just wearing her look. I was becoming her. And if this spell wasn't reversed soon, I might never be myself again. The first day at school in Lyra's body was a nightmare I couldn't escape. Walking through the hallways, I felt eyes on me everywhere, not in the usual way, but with recognition. Whispers followed me. "Is that Lyra? She looks different." My own reflection in the shiny lockers made me flinch every time I passed by. Long hair, soft features, the familiar curves, it wasn't me. But it was mine to inhabit, and that realization made my stomach twist with anxiety. Friends approached me. "Lyra, you look, wow, are you feeling okay?" one asked. I tried to respond, but my voice betrayed me, lighter, melodic, unmistakably hers. My heart pounded. I mumbled something about feeling tired, fumbling over words that didn't feel natural. The strangest part was interacting with people who didn't know the spell had happened. Teachers, classmates, even casual acquaintances treated me like her, but I wasn't her. Every compliment, every casual remark, made me hyper-aware of the differences between who I was and who I appeared to be. Even my own habits betrayed me. I caught myself adjusting my posture, brushing my hair over one shoulder, instinctively copying gestures that Lyra made naturally. Panic gripped me. I wasn't me, yet everyone expected me to be her. During lunch, a group of girls stared openly, whispering with curiosity. "She's acting different today," one said. I forced a smile, trying to mirror Lyra's charm, but it felt alien. My fingers trembled as I picked at the edge of my skirt, and I noticed that the weight of the spell wasn't just physical, it was psychological. I was performing her life, and every move carried the weight of an identity I hadn't chosen. By the end of the day, I was exhausted. Every interaction, every glance, every laugh required careful thought. My mind was in constant overdrive, calculating how to appear normal while trapped in someone else's body. Fear, embarrassment, confusion, they were relentless companions. And yet, underneath it all, curiosity stirred. I couldn't deny it. The way the school looked through Lyra's eyes, the ease with which people interacted with me, even the thrill of being noticed, it was intoxicating. But it was also terrifying. Because I realized, with a sinking heart, that the longer I stayed in her body, the more I risked losing myself entirely. The mirror that evening reflected not just Lyra's face, it reflected the tension between fear and fascination, between panic and desire. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a question began to grow. If I start to enjoy this, will I ever be able to return to being me? After that first overwhelming day, I realized the only way to survive, maybe even understand, this spell was to retreat into privacy. My dorm room became a sanctuary, a place where I could explore Lyra's body without the world watching, without judgment. I stood in front of the mirror, examining every curve, every line that wasn't mine just yesterday. My hands trembled as I touched my face, tracing the delicate cheekbones, the softened jawline, the lips that now felt full and unfamiliar beneath my fingertips. Each touch sent a shiver through me, half terror, half thrill. I experimented with her hair first. Brushing it, twirling it, letting it fall naturally around my shoulders. The soft, glossy strands felt surreal, brushing my neck and collarbone in ways I'd never experienced. I laughed softly, almost in disbelief. "This is me now," I whispered, still shocked by the transformation. Makeup became the next playground. Borrowing her blush, a hint of eyeliner, subtle lip gloss, I marveled at how it reshaped my reflection. Each application made me look closer to Lyra, yet closer to a version of me I had never dared imagine. My reflection seemed to respond, softening, becoming more alive, more alluring. Then came my voice. I practiced speaking in front of the mirror, adjusting the pitch, softening the edges, letting it flow melodically. At first, I stumbled over every word. My own sentences sounded foreign, almost silly. But gradually, I found rhythm. There was a strange satisfaction in hearing this gentle, airy voice speak. My voice, yet hers, and somehow mine too. Movements followed. Sitting, standing, walking, every gesture required recalibration. I noticed how my hips swayed naturally now, how my shoulders softened, how my posture subtly shifted with every step. Even a simple act like laughing or tilting my head felt different, more expressive, more feminine. I practiced it all in secret, each moment reinforcing the new rhythm I was learning to inhabit. There were thrills too, small, secret joys I never expected. The feel of soft fabric against my skin, the gentle curve of my chest, the weight of hair brushing my back, every sensation was a revelation. I studied myself for hours, discovering quirks and subtleties that made me feel alive in ways I had never experienced. Curiosity mingled with fear. Could I truly enjoy this? Could I embrace this without losing myself entirely? The tension was electric, exciting, intoxicating. I experimented with expressions, gestures, and subtle postures, discovering the power in being seen, even if only by my reflection. Nights became rituals. Lock the door. Dress. Apply makeup. Practice movements. Speak. Observe. Adjust. Repeat. Every repetition brought small victories, a smile that felt genuine, a walk that felt confident, a glance in the mirror that no longer startled me but invited me in. By the end of the week, I understood something vital. This wasn't just a spell I had to endure. It was a portal into parts of myself I had never known. Curiosity, sensuality, confidence, and the intoxicating thrill of inhabiting a body that blurred lines between fear and desire. I wasn't pretending. I was discovering. And deep down, I knew that the next step, venturing out in public, facing the world in this new form, was going to test everything I had learned. By the second week, staying hidden in my dorm room no longer felt satisfying. The thrill of Lyra's form, the way it made me move, think, even speak differently, demanded more. I wanted to test the boundaries, small steps at first, but steps nonetheless. It started with casual walks through the school corridors. At first, I stayed close to walls, hugging shadows, feeling every eye that flicked toward me like needles. But each day, I lingered a little longer, allowed my hair to flow naturally over my shoulders, smiled softly at classmates, and practiced gestures that now felt instinctive. Interactions were the true challenge. Friends approached, greeted me, laughed with me, and I responded, hesitant at first, but gradually more naturally. I discovered that speaking in Lyra's gentle, melodic tone, while still holding my own thoughts and personality, drew curiosity without suspicion. People noticed me, but not with judgment. They simply reacted to the presence I exuded. Even small routines became empowering experiments. Borrowing accessories from Lyra's collection, bracelets, subtle rings, delicate scarves, I learned how minor details could transform perception. Adjusting posture, tilting my head just so, laughing lightly in conversation, it all contributed to a performance that felt authentic. During one study session in the common room, a classmate glanced at me and said, "You look really confident today. It suits you." My chest tightened. Confidence? Me? I smiled softly, realizing she wasn't wrong. Each day spent practicing in private, each hour spent learning gestures and expressions, had quietly transformed me. Weekends became opportunities for bolder experimentation. I lingered in shared spaces longer, initiated conversations I would have avoided before, and even joined small social games. Fear was still present, but it had lost its paralyzing grip. It was now a background pulse, pushing me to pay attention, to stay alert, but not to run. At night, back in the dorm, I reflected on each victory. I practiced my voice, adjusted my movements, perfected subtle smiles in the mirror. My reflection no longer startled me, it encouraged me. I felt alive, exhilarated by the knowledge that I was slowly mastering both the art of inhabiting Lyra's body and the thrill of expressing a side of myself I had never known. Through all this, I realized an important truth. Empowerment isn't about perfection, and authenticity isn't about imitation. It's about inhabiting your chosen form with confidence, curiosity, and courage. By embracing the spell rather than fearing it, I had discovered a freedom I hadn't expected, a blend of fear, desire, and exhilaration that reshaped my sense of self. By the end of the week, I wasn't just surviving Lyra's form, I was thriving in it. I could laugh, move, speak, and express myself with a fluidity I had never known. The spell had given me more than physical transformation, it had unlocked a side of me that demanded acknowledgement. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "This is only the beginning." The confrontation came sooner than I expected. It was during the school's annual talent showcase. I had been hesitant to participate, but a small thrill pushed me forward, the chance to fully inhabit Lyra's form, publicly, for the first time. I dressed carefully, choosing a flowing dress that accentuated curves I was still learning to accept, pairing it with shoes that made my legs feel longer, and subtle makeup that gave me both confidence and comfort. As I stepped onto the stage, the spotlight hit me, and the world blurred into a sea of faces. Friends, classmates, teachers, they all looked at me. Not as me, not as my old self, but as Lyra. My heart hammered against my ribs. Panic whispered, urging me to flee. But then, somewhere beneath that fear, curiosity flickered. What if I don't hide? What if I embrace this? The music began, and I moved with it, tentatively at first, testing gestures, posture, expressions. Every movement felt like walking a tightrope between exposure and liberation. I caught glimpses of the audience reacting, smiles, nods, murmurs, and realized that no one was judging me harshly. They were seeing me, truly, fully, without cruelty. Midway through my performance, a classmate whispered from the front row, "She looks amazing." I didn't expect this. Amazing. The word made my chest tighten with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. For the first time, I didn't want to vanish. I wanted to exist, unapologetically, in this form. The internal confrontation was stronger than any external gaze. I had a choice: revert to safety, hide behind excuses, pretend the spell hadn't changed me, or embrace the transformation fully, risk exposure, and step into a version of myself I hadn't dared to explore. I chose the latter. I moved with confidence, allowed my gestures to flow naturally, and let my voice carry without hesitation. The spell that had terrified me now became a vehicle for self-expression. Every laugh, every twirl, every glance at the audience felt like a declaration: I am here. I am allowed. I am me, even if I look different. When the performance ended, applause echoed through the hall. My heart swelled. I had faced fear, scrutiny, and the weight of identity, and I had survived, not just physically, but emotionally. Backstage, my reflection in a mirror caught my eye. Lyra's face, my gestures, my expression, it wasn't just her anymore. It was us, a blend of admiration, curiosity, courage, and authenticity. I realized that the spell hadn't trapped me. It had shown me strength I never knew I possessed. And in that moment, I knew, hiding was no longer an option. Embracing myself, fully, boldly, unapologetically, was the only choice I could make. After the showcase, everything shifted. The spell still lingered, but I no longer felt like a victim trapped in someone else's body. I had survived public scrutiny, navigated whispers, and faced the terrifying thrill of being fully visible. More than that, I had begun to enjoy it. Each morning, I dressed intentionally. Clothes, makeup, accessories, they weren't just tools to mimic Lyra anymore. They became expressions of a side of myself I had never explored, playful, confident, daring, and yet undeniably me. I experimented with styles, textures, and colors, learning what resonated not just with Lyra's appearance, but with my own emerging identity. Interactions became easier. Friends greeted me with curiosity and warmth. I laughed, spoke, and moved naturally, no longer anxious about every gesture or word. Compliments no longer startled me. Instead, they affirmed the small victories I had been cultivating privately. Even Lyra noticed. One afternoon, as we shared lunch, she smiled knowingly. "You're really embracing this," she said softly. "I didn't think you'd manage it so effortlessly." Her words made my chest swell. I had feared imitation, exposure, and judgment, but now I understood that empowerment isn't about perfection. It's about inhabiting yourself fully, even if the form is borrowed, and finding authenticity in that experience. Small rituals became acts of confidence, adjusting my hair, practicing gestures, testing new expressions. Even in my own room, I no longer hid. I explored, discovered, and celebrated the self I was becoming. By the end of the month, I realized that the spell had done more than change my appearance. It had unlocked courage, curiosity, and confidence I had never known. Lyra's form, I was thriving in it, discovering a freedom that came from choosing authenticity over fear. The final day of the spell arrived. As the magic faded, I watched my reflection shift back to my original self. Yet something profound had changed. The confidence, the awareness, the empowerment, they weren't borrowed. They were mine. I had faced fear, navigated transformation, and embraced a side of myself that might have remained hidden forever. I had discovered that courage, authenticity, and self-acceptance aren't dictated by form, they are cultivated by choice. For the first time, I smiled without hesitation, not at the reflection in the mirror, but at the person I had become. Looking back, I realized the spell was never about magic, it was about courage. It forced me out of my comfort zone, made me confront fear, and revealed a side of myself I had never allowed to exist. I learned that transformation isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and profoundly liberating. The month taught me to embrace curiosity, to explore vulnerability, and to step boldly into spaces that once terrified me. I discovered confidence, self-expression, and the power of authenticity. If you're watching this and feel trapped by circumstance, fear, or expectation, remember this. True empowerment comes not from changing for others, but from daring to explore, accept, and celebrate the parts of yourself you've hidden, even if it feels scary at first. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to step forward anyway. And authenticity, living as your truest self, is the bravest magic of all.